And it's so wonderful to see all of you all for this wonderful first Shabbat of the new year that we've entered in right now. And praise and thanks to God for the year that's gone by and all the blessings with all its complexities that the year that has gone by. But God has been good. He's been gracious. He's been full of grace in our lives. He's kept us. He's fed us. He's looked after us. He's made us who we are today. So all praise and thanks to our Father in heaven and Yeshua, and by the power of His Holy Spirit, who's kept us for a time such as this. Today is Simchat Torah. And Simchat Torah is just getting over, and we are coming into the first Shabbat of the year. Simchat Torah is normally celebrated in the diaspora. It's actually the 9th day today. Yesterday was the 8th day, which is Shmini Atzaret, the 8th day, right? After the 7 days of Sukkot. And in the diaspora, we celebrate Simchat Torah because Simchat Torah is called the joy of the Torah. And we usher in the new year with the joy of the Torah. And I remember this same day last year was a very critical day for the nation of Israel. It's when all the problems started. Nevertheless, we have been at it since the last 2 months. From the month of Av, the month of Elul, then we've completed the month of Tishrei. Okay, it's getting over now, and we've been studying so much about the 9th of Av and talking about repentance and talking about how do we negotiate a new year. And in all of this, I very clearly remembering saying and telling everybody, this new year is going to have its challenges, a lot of challenges, maybe at a personal level, maybe at a level for everybody, maybe at national levels, maybe at levels that are, country levels or governmental levels, whatever levels. There are going to be tremendous challenges. And I also said that the financial markets are going to be in tremendous duress. And we're seeing it from Rosh Hashanah onwards. The markets the world over is looking very, very negative right now. In fact, even our own stock market is dropped. In couple of sessions, we've lost a lot of money in the equity markets. And it is still going to have a deeper impact to everybody's life. So look at the times and the seasons and understand on the spiritual level what's happening in the world over. From Israel point of view, we are going to see an uptick in the Middle East. Tensions flare up, and it's going to get a lot more challenging and a lot more worse in the Middle East. So keep praying for Israel, keep praying for the Jewish people, keep praying for all of us, because every one of us is going to get affected. And this escalation in the Middle East is going to take its toll. But I think, and what I perceive, is that in the coming days, or in the coming months, or in the coming year, as long as this stretches, we're going to see a lot of groundbreaking cleansing happening in the Middle East. You see, this has to happen. And all the bad elements in the Middle East are going to be handled and removed. And no better way to do than use Israel, right? So praise God, because God knows what He's doing, and a lot of cleansing is happening in the Middle East. It's going to take a lot of pain the world over. But at the end of it, God is going to do a lot of cleansing. And once this cleansing happens, then the revelatory presence of God would be able to sweep through nations in the Middle East. So keep praying for that. It's very, very important. So this is the new year we ushered in. And as usual in the new year, once we hit Simchat Torah, the reason why we do Simchat Torah, the primary reason is that we take the scrolls of the Torah and we rewind them back all the way to Genesis all over again. You see, time is very cyclical in biblical context. So when we finish the book of Deuteronomy, we're at the end of the scroll. So Simchat Torah is a time and it's a joyous occasion where they rewind the scroll back again to Genesis and they start all over again. So it's about the end and it's about the beginning. It's about the end and it's about the beginning all over again, friends. So it's not only about the end, it's also about the beginning. And this is a very joyous occasion. Today, I want to talk to you all about, since we are back to the book of Bereshit and Genesis, and a couple of things I just want to touch about in the book of Genesis. Primarily, we're going to study chapter 2, Perek Beth, from the book of Genesis, and we're going to study a little in depth as to what the Bible is saying. And make no mistake about this, because whatever we study today, it's going to be the foundation of the entire line of thought and theology that we're going to do throughout the year. In fact, for your lives. This is the foundation of the Torah and Torah of the Bible and the scriptures. This is the foundation. So if you all have your Bibles, please open to chapter 2 of Bereshit, and we're going to read from there, and we'll try going verse by verse and expounding, doing a little midrash on those verses, and hopefully I'll be able to expand and give a little thought. So I may take a little more than an hour today, but please bear with me. Okay. Chapter 2, Perek Beth, Bereshit, Pasuk Aleph, verse 1, which says, Vayi kullu hashemayim ve'haaretz ve'chol sava'am. The heaven and the earth were finished, and all its host. Now, chapter 1 deals with creation because it uses the word bara. And for those who've been studying with us, those who have been at the yeshiva and studying all these years, you will know the 4 levels of creation, right? The 4 levels of the creative process of how God has brought things into being. So the first level is Atzilut, which is emanation. The second level is Beria or Bara, creation. Mind you, Atzilut, emanation, and Beria, creation, it's still not a physicality. Everything is created, but it's not as yet a tangible thing. Once Beria, then the third level is Yatsira. This is where we get into the tangible things of creation. Yatsira comes from the word Yatsar, to form. So emanation is a different level, which is succeeded by Beria, creation, then which is succeeded by Yatsira, which is formation. And the last and the fourth level is the word Asiya, from the word Asa. Asa means to take something or take that which is formed, emanated first, created, now it's formed, and now that formed is like a raw material from which you can produce something out of it. So Yatsira is a level which is a level of potential, the potential of action. Asya, where Yatsira comes in, and then there's action, there's deeds, there's movement, there is activity, there's time aspect, there's space aspect, there's consciousness, all this mixed put together in Asya, and all of this is meant to produce something out of it. What is produced, whether it's a good thing that's produced or it's an evil thing that's produced, is where the Bible gives us the option of what do you choose to do with not only your time, but the space that you're living in, and the consciousness that you are, and the activity and how you fill time is the level of Asiya or Asa you're producing, which means every second and every moment of our life, is a moment in time that we are producing an event, a thought, an action, a deed. It's up to us whether it's good or it's evil. In other words, how are we filling time? Time is a telescopic prism through which God is revealing himself at all time, at every second. Because time comes and it becomes, it's coming in, minute by minute, second by second. I have to grasp that second and do the best with it. So this level, the fourth level of Asiya, is the level where now we have been given the potential of choosing whether to pursue inactivity, good or evil, right? So that, now keep this in mind, because from now onwards, everything, chapter 2 onwards now, that basically talks about the formation of things. So chapter 1 talks about the Beria, the creation of things. The Bible does not start with Atzilut, emanation. It does not. It starts with creation, and then chapter 2 it talks about formation, and you will understand this as we read through chapter 2. And why is this important? Why is this really important? It's important because it's something very, very specific. Because if you look and if you're trying to find a philosophical work in the scripture, you are not going to find anything. The Bible does not start with a philosophical argument. The Bible does not start with a philosophical statement. The Bible starts with a narrative that tells you that this is what God is doing, which is fabulous if you think of it, because it does not question anything. It just tells you that this is what God is doing. If you have to compare it to any other philosophical work, any other religious work ever written or anything, they will always talk about, at some point of time this was created and something created it, and it will go into a poetic or philosophical work. Not the Bible. The Bible starts with God created, and it ascribes everything to him, saying this is what he done. There is no question of who, what, is there a God, is there not a God, how does he look, what is he, how does he function, nothing of that sort. Nothing. God created everything, and this is what he done. So keep in mind, we have to be very firm in our understanding, because when the Bible talks with such emunah, with faith, that God created everything, that's it. That's it. There is no question. You cannot delve into the scriptures and say, okay, I mean, can I find God around here somewhere? No, it's not possible. Therefore, chapter 2, when he's forming everything, it says, and when the heavens and earth were finished, and all its hosts, this is established, it's powerful. Okay, verse 2, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. And on the seventh day, God would have finished his work, has finished his work that had been undertaken, and he ceased on the seventh day from doing any work. So this is where we get the concept of Shabbat. And it's the natural order of any human being. You can't work 7 days a week. By the time you come to the fifth day and fifth and a half day and the sixth day, your energy levels are already dipping. And seventh day, you have to rest. Your body has to take that rest. It has to take that rest. This is the natural order of creation, because you're hitting the, I call it the seven, the principle of the, or the paradigm of seven, because all of nature is embodied as all inclusive within the vortex of seven, rather, the vortex of seven. Seven colors, seven notes of music, uh, time is calculated in seven, 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 seven. Everything is in sevens. Okay, you look intentively, intuitively at all creation. Also, you'll come out with sevens in all things. Nature and creation does not go beyond seven. It does not. Therefore, on Shmini Atzeret, why do we celebrate the eighth day, which we studied last? We celebrate the eighth day because we do not know what the eighth day is all about. Within creation, we are in the seven, but the eighth day is beyond the scope of the human consciousness. We do not know. Therefore, in anticipation of being and experiencing this, the eighth day, God says, you want to enter the eighth day, rest on the seventh, because that is something that's going to bring you to the eighth. And truly, when the eighth day arrives and when it comes, we will understand what it is. Right now, we're not going to know. So he rested on the seventh day from doing any work. What do you mean that God rested from doing any work? Big question. And why the Shabbat say, okay, Shabbat says, you will not do any work. It simply means that you will not do any creative work or try to aspire to do things to interfere with the process of seven. You have completed your 6 days, rest on the seventh day. Enjoy the seventh day. Anything beyond the scope of human natural order of things or tampering the natural order of things for whatever reason, don't do it. If you know that you are on the seventh day and you are resting and you have to get up and you have to make something new, God says, don't do it. It's in your power. It's in your hand. If you know you have a project and you got to complete it, let it be. Don't do it. Don't touch it. Don't go, because there's a reason for this. Because if we break this rule that God has given us, then we're going to break all definitive lines and lines and lines beyond that. So God says, don't break this line. The world is hurtling that they've broken so many lines of the natural order and it's climbing one over the other now. They're breaking natural order of medicine, of human anatomy, DNA, and into space, into this and go, and this is carrying on and going on and going on. So you do not do that. God says, I know one day you're going to go to the moon and colonize the moon, and one day you're going to be on Mars and you're going to colonize Mars also. This is what humanity is heading for. But God says, don't do it. You can do it. It's possible. Humans can do it. They will terraform Mars one day. It's possible. But God says, don't do it. Why do you want to do it? This is the broad concept of Shabbat. Stop and don't violate it. Okay. Then, and God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy. Now, when you're looking at holy and you're looking at things that are holy, the word holy in Hebrew means something very different to what you and me think it is. Why barech Elohim et yom hashivi, why kodesh, why kadash otho ki bo Shabbat mechol malachto asher bara Elohim la asot. The word kadash, to me, holy means it is separated from everything that's normal. So I have Monday, Tuesday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, till Friday evening. These are all normal days. These are pedestrian days. These are days that are just normal. Come Friday evening till Saturday evening, God says, separate this day, sanctify it, remove it from your normal order of things. that you do not violate creation for your own benefit, because once you start doing that, you will not be able to control the outcome. You'll be in trouble. Do you know, I've been watching scientific a little, the way the scientists are thinking nowadays. The Torah has been always saying there are three factors that have got to do with the creation aspect. Torah has always said space, time, and consciousness. Science came out in classical physics 200, 300 years ago and said space, time, and energy. The great scientists in the 19th century built formulas and quantum formulas on space, time, and energy. The Torah always said consciousness. Today, there's a big debate that they are trying to understand what is consciousness. And they're replacing the word energy with consciousness now. Why didn't they understand it in the first place? The sages of Israel spoke about consciousness 3,500 years ago. With all the knowledge and understanding of science and technology, are we that stupid? Not just listen to the Bible even once. Listen to the Bible once, what the Bible is telling you. So now you stumble upon it and now you're trying to do, see, this is the violation now. Look at the violation. What is the violation? They're trying to take consciousness and understand it and to analyze it in an analytical process and feed it into an animated robot to give that robot a consciousness that is equal to a human being. It's not going to happen. That robot is going to analytically look at everything around him and process everything analytically. It does not have this thing called da'at. Now, remember, even in Rosh Hashanah and for Yom Kippur and even for the 9th of Av, we studied about da'at, right? We done extensive study on da'at, knowledge. Chokhmah, Bina, and da'at, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. What is this knowledge? No matter what you do or how you program a robotical structure that you make, and you can cover it with synthetic skin and make it look human and do all those funny things and make it talk and walk and, it cannot be a sentient being. It cannot have sentience. It's not possible. But scientists are trying to emulate consciousness now because they stumbled upon consciousness. They're trying to emulate consciousness and bring it into a robot, and the robot's ever going to be learning. And it's going to learn, and it's going to learn. And it's picking up quantum bits of information 1,000 times more than a human being. And it's analyzing that, and it's bringing that into its existence through some microchips in its central core, and it's going to respond automatically. And once that robot understands what love and fear and threat is, not because it's sentient, but because it's analytically looking at it, it's going to become a dangerous thing. It's going to become very, very dangerous, friends. I am saying this, in a couple of years, we are going to have dangerous things moving around us. So just be prepared. And this is violation of Shabbat. That I know this is where I have to stop. Why am I still pursuing it? Am I trying to be God? Am I trying to create another being just like God created me? Oh, I want to. This is where humans are. Scientists are doing this today. My advice to them is stop it. Do not violate the laws of Shabbat. It's very, very important, friends. Very important. The other day I was looking at, I'm going to talk, this year I'm going to talk a lot about, I'm going to integrate a lot of, modern day things and things that are happening in the world with that Torah study because it's necessary. It's very necessary. The other day I was looking at this big interview about AI and artificial intelligence. And it's very scary. In fact, I think I sent a video to a couple of you guys about what's happening in the AI world. One is to generate AI, you need a super abundance of energy and power. And look at the world today, everybody's talking about energy. Energy is the generation of energy, the the storage of energy in batteries, generation, storage, and the usage of energy and its end product or its waste product, all that has become a huge topic and discussion and funded in billions today the world over. Everyone's talking about energy. Why? Because you need energy to give this synthetic life to AI. Now, AI, what is open to the public is the very first level, which is called context window. What is context window? Context window, the simple example is like uh, chat gpt, or you have AI tools on your mobile, on your WhatsApp, and all those things. So you can just go to the AI thing and type out, say, I want, can you tell me about this, or can you make me a PPT based on this in 30 seconds. Tuck, 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 tuck. It pulls in all the information from all over the world and it generates a PPT, and you're very happy. Are fantastic? Yeah, what is this? Yeah, it's superb. That's context window. It's powerful, very, very powerful. There's another level beyond that. Another level beyond that. And that level is called agent AI. Now, agent AI is tremendously powerful, and it needs a lot more power and energy and resources that you cannot believe. Agent AI is not just a window context that you open a window and say, okay, tell me this. Agent AI is now capable of taking a question and it's attached to a laboratory or to an experimental bay or experimental area, and it is experimenting with that. And it's giving you results which would have taken a human being 10 years or 15 years. It's giving it out probably in a couple of hours or maybe a few days or something. Depends on the complexity of it. So it is attached to an experimental bay and it's learning. And it's basically what is used in gain of function, in bacteriology and virology, which these guys have been doing the world over, right? So it's used for all of that, and it's creating, and it's ever learning, and that is powerful because you can go to agent AI and say, okay, I want to do something X, which is harmful to the human body. Create X, and this is how it has to destroy the human body, and this is what I needed to do, and give it to me in 1 hour's time. It'll go, it'll take something, it'll take whatever resources it has in the lab, it'll create everything and say, okay, this is ready. This is the vial for it, this is it, this is how it has to be done, this is how it has to be dispensed. That is agent AI. It's already in process in this world. Only thing, it's not been given into the hands of the public. Context window is given to the hands of the public because it's the first step. Agent AI is not given, it's given only for a certain level of AI operators, which is huge. There's another level beyond that. The another level is where that thing has learned to that extent, where you can actually say, okay, now you've given me the thesis of it, you've told me all this about it, now I want you to actually do it for me. And while you're doing it for me, I want you to store it, and you will take instructions only from my mouth. That's it. That kind of power is mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. It's a violation of every single thing because we've stepped out of the sixth day and we have not resting on the seventh day. Friends, these are one of the ways I wanted to look at Shabbat. What am I doing? I'm violating God's concept because God knows that if I overextend myself, I can achieve anything. The human being has potential to achieve anything, in good as well as bad. Where are we going? And I urge all of y'all to, as old as we are, sometimes it becomes very difficult, right, for our ages to actually understand what's happening. But do a little study for yourself and understand what's happening the world over. Very, very important. Okay, so that's verse 2. It's got verse 3. It's got to do with Shabbat, and God blessed it. And there's a reason He blessed it, because when you keep that Shabbat, the blessings will flow. Such is the story of heaven and earth when they were created, when God made the heaven and the earth. And then it says something amazing. It says, Vehol Shaikh Hasadeh Trem Ye Adonai Be'eretz Vehol Asav Hasadeh Trem Yatzmach Ki Lo Hi Matir Adonai Elohim Al Haaretz Ve'ad. There was no shrub, there was no grass, there was nothing on the field. Nothing. God had just created everything. There was nothing yet on the earth, and no grasses on the field, had not yet sprouted, samak, because God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no human being to till the soil, to work it. And remember this, I'm saying this is very, very important. The reason why we were created, why humanity was created, because we were created to be connected to the elements of creation. Pumping in your blood and in your body is all 5 elements of creation. We don't realize this. We do not. Air, fire, water, earth, and consciousness, spirit. It's all pumping through your entire being. They were created. Adam and Chava were created, but they were not formed as yet. So what did God do? This is what God done. It says, but then it says, Ve'ed ya'ale min haaretz, and there would be like a spring of water that would sprout out from the ground, and it would water the ground and water the whole surface of the earth. And it says, once the earth got moist and clayey in its aspect, then God took that clay. It says, now the word is, Vayatsar Adonai, and God formed Vayatsar Adonai Elohim et ha-adam afar. He took the dust and the clay that was moist because of that water and that moistness. Afar min ha-adama vaipach be'afaf nishmat chayim vayehi ahadam lenefesh chaya. And God formed the human being. So we've covered 3 levels. We've covered absolute level, emanation, creation. In 126, God created them male and female. And now God formed the human being from the clay of the ground. That means He took all elements of creation, put them together, and He formed them from the soil's moistness and this thing. And then it says He blew into His nostrils, Vaipak, Nishmat Chaim. Nishmat Chaim. Now, the word Nishmat, it's a set, because the plural is Neshama, but it's yet feminine in its origin. Neshama is a feminine word, right? So neshama, which is called breath from biblical, from scripture, is the word for divine soul. So every one of us have got this breath that comes from the eternal, and it's called neshama, nishmat. But nishmat is plural, feminine. If you want to look at it, why are there two breaths? This is what I need to make you understand. It's called Nishmat Chaim. And he became Vayihi Hadam Le Nefesh. And then he became a Nefesh Chaya. So we have two words in this verse. One is Neshama, which is divine breath, and the other one is Nefesh Chaya, which is living soul. Based on this is what I'm going to teach everybody tomorrow, every Saturday, the series of soul dimension. I'm going to teach everybody the depths of the soul dimension as to what is Neshama and what is Nefesh. So in very simple terms, Neshama is divine breath that comes from God, and Nefesh is what God formed from the earth, and the Neshama comes and vivifies, gives the Nefesh, this earthly physical being that was formed from the ground, vivifies and gives it life. Okay, so there are two aspects inside a person. So when you look at soul, the complexities of the soul is not what you and me think it is, because we've been taught for 2000 years that when we die, our soul goes back to God. One second, there's a lot more to learn from that, but I'm going to cover this in the Saturday series. So those who have not registered, please register for the Saturday series. It's going to be a long series every Saturday. It's very important for you all to learn the basics of all of this. Okay, so now man becomes a nefesh chaya, he becomes a living soul. Okay, he becomes a living soul, he becomes a living being. And then it says, and God planted a garden in Eden. Now, Eden was this huge place. Huge place. In Eden, we had them in the east of Eden, in that place which is very specific. He planted this garden, and he took Adam, this man, and he placed him there. And it says over there, Vayita Adonai Elohem. Gan Eden. Vayita means to plant something, to transplant, to take a seed, take a what you call that? Take a plantling and to really plant it, grout it in the ground. That's Vayita. Vayita Adonai Elohem. Gan Eden Michedem. Vayasem Shem et Hadam Asher Yatsar. And the man that he had formed. The man that he had formed. Isn't it the man who he had created? This is the man who he had formed. He took him and he planted him and he put him in this garden that God had planted. And this garden was very, very beautiful. Extremely beautiful. Okay, let's keep going now. Let's run over what was the reason God planted this garden and why did God want him to go into this garden and to work it and to till it. That is the big question. Which means of the entire world that God created, of this earth and the sun and the moon and stars and the earth aspect and the beauty of its foliage and the seas, God chose one small place on this earth and said, this place is special to me and I want to do something very special with this place. And then he creates this special place and he creates man and he says, Adam, come, go into this garden and this is what you will do for me. These are my rules and regulations to be, because I want to run this place for me. This is my summer house, or this is my farmhouse. This is my place. This is my beloved place. I want you to work it for me. And I've created you for that very specific purpose, to look after and to till and to work the ground. So in many ways, all that you see that God gave the Jewish people in the book of Vaikra about the Levitical priesthood and the sacrifices and all those things, except for the blood sacrifices. And all those things, there was so much more Torah God had instructed Adam to do while he was in this garden. It was a very, very specific place. Adam knew the Torah that you and me don't know. Even the Torah that we have to the Jewish people, it's not the level of the Torah that God gave Adam as to how to live in this garden, to work this garden according to God's purpose and His will. We're not party to that, we don't know it. And He also, from the ground, the Lord God caused to grow every tree that was pleasing to the sight and good for food. Now, this can be a positive statement or it could be a negative statement. How can it be a positive statement? Because God created the human being and He formed the human being to experience pleasure. So that when He sees something beautiful, He says, what a beautiful thing this is. And He created something that was beautiful so it could be appreciated. Are you following this? It's very important. And a tree that was pleasing to the sight and good for food, or it could be a negative thing also. How could it be a negative thing? That if you delve into too much pleasure, you could go down a rabbit's hole that you'll never recover from. So what was God trying to do out here? He placed this garden as a testing ground and a place of tremendous potential for Adam specifically, and told him, whatever choices you make here is going to affect right now. But God's plan of Gan Eden is very specific. Humanity must be able to come back to Gan Eden one day. Which is why, after the sin, they were thrown out from the garden and they started wandering the earth, and humanity started moving away from God for 2000 years. And till the year 1948 from Adam, 1948 years from Adam, Abraham Avinu was born. Abraham the father was born. And he was 52 years when God told him, get up and I'm going to take you into a land. I'm going to show you a land now. What was that all about? God has started now to come back, to bring humanity back to Gan Eden. He says, Abraham, pack your bags. I'm going to show you a place. Come. And he brings Abraham back to the land of Canaan, to the land where Israel is today. Because the Garden of Eden was around Jerusalem. What happened there has to end there, or a new beginning. So he starts bringing Abraham back, and the story that we read in the Bible is the rectification of bringing Abraham and starting this process of coming back to Gan Eden, because this is God's sneak of the woods. This is where He wants to be. This is His pet project in all the earth. He's not interested in India. He's not interested in America. He's not interested in land. He says, y'all do good. Y'all don't do idolatry. Y'all come and worship me. Y'all sing praises to me. I'm happy. I'm not interested in you. I am interested in my Garden of Eden. That is what God's interested in. And therefore, He called Abraham out as a father, and He blessed him for a specific reason, that your children will become priests and high priests for me, that they would come and I'm going to train them to come and to officiate and do the things that I told Adam to do in the Garden of Eden all over again. That is the storyline. Therefore, what we read out here is very, very important to understand. That 2000 years hence, Abraham is called out. He's been blessed. He's been given progeny, Isaac, and Isaac is given Yaakov, and Yaakov has got these 12 children that's going to form the Israel, the nation of Israel, and those people are supposed to come and do the things Adam was supposed to do in this garden. That is the storyline. It's not rocket science. Any other theology, friends, is wrong. Beat it. Get this straight. So God's project of Gan Eden is still very much alive, but we've gone to 5,800 years of history and we've still not come back to Gan Eden as yet. It's taken so many millennia and it's still not happened as yet. Okay, so he puts them in this place. The word Eden comes from the word Aden or Eden. Eden in Hebrew, which means a place of limbo, a place of potential that can be or cannot be, depends on how you interact with it. So whatever you do in that place is going to decide the future of everything, is the future of all things. If you take one step there, this way humanity is going to go. This way you're going to go. You are going to create the future of all living things the way you interact with Eden. And that's what got done. And he put them in Eden and he gave them all the things to eat. Basically, they were frugivorous, herbage and fruits, not meat and blood. And he told them, and in the middle of that, he plonks in the center. He says, okay, let me read it. It says, Vayitzmak Adonai Elohim min hadama kol etz, all the trees. Nechmad le mare, which is pleasing to see, mera. Vetov le machel, to eat, to see and to eat. Ve'etz hachaim, and the tree of life, betoch hagan, ve'etz ha da'at tov ve'ra. Gave them in the middle of it this tree of life and also the tree of the da'at, of knowledge of good and of evil. But Adam, how does Adam know and understand what is good and what is evil? Because he's not tampered with that thing as yet. He's not stretched forth his hand and eaten whatever he had to eat. It's an allegory. So he does not know what is the complexity of good and evil. He does not know. God told him, these trees are there of good and evil, don't touch it. But Adam had to have some kind of understanding of what good and evil is all about. He was not a dumb zombie in front of God. Okay. What does that mean, God? I don't understand it. No. His understanding of good and evil was very different from what we understand good and evil. So there was this phase before the tree and there's a phase after the tree. Before the tree, he could see evil in its complexity and it was separated from the good in its complexity. There were two different tracks that could never meet. And he was able to keep that separated. But when he dabbled with that, those tracks merged. It caused a mishap, a train wreck. These things merged, and now within him, he has this complexity of good and evil, and he's constantly fighting the good and the evil within him, which was first outside of him, and it were two different complexities. Now the complexity is mixed inside of him. Anyway, so he caused to grow every tree that was pleasing in the sight of for good for food, with the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of the Daat of good and bad, of knowledge. Now we studied Daat, we studied knowledge, right? Daat is the bridge between the cognitive process and the emotive process of a human being. So it is that which says, okay, I take wisdom that is it's bigger than me. It has no form. It's just there. It's power. Because the word chokmah means what power is this? Chokmah. What is this? So I take that, then I bring it into my brains, my mind, and I take it into a construct phase, which is bina. From where we get the word bana, to construct or to build. So I'm taking something which has a complexity, which has no body, it has no form, it has no words. How do I express it? So when I take it into the next level of bina, which is understanding, I am constructing it and giving it a form and giving it a body, and I'm giving it a word, and I'm giving it a sentence, and my mind is giving it a structure. I'm building onto it. That's bina, understanding. Both these levels in a human being, it's still in galut, it's still hidden, it's secret. Now, once I am ready, constructed that wisdom and have brought it into a construct phase, and I've given it words and meanings and understanding, I am ready to make it my own. Say, okay, now I've understood this fully. Dude, I'm going to explain this to you. Now let me explain this to you. Or let me do it for you what I understood. And then I transfer the cognitive process via that to the emotive process, which my full body now finally experiences as a reality. That's that. And I do it, and I say it, and I accomplish it. Now it's revealed. Chokmah and Bina is secret, but that is revealed. So the Torah is giving us a angle that what is this da'at of good and bad that they entertained and they were seduced, and once they partook of this good and bad, this da'at, they experienced it, and once they experienced it in the emotive state, then the consciousness fell to a different level of existence, and suddenly they realized, oh man, why am I like this? Why am I naked? Am I this? Am I that? What's happening to me? This, and then they just fell into a different consciousness because it got merged inside of them, and now they were confused as to what's happened to me. What's happened to me? In very simple language, I'm just putting very simple language, and then when that happened, okay, when they ate of that, that's a chapter 3, or chapter 3 and chapter 4. Okay, this is what they came down to. Then the Bible goes on after this, and it talks about then the Bible goes about, talks and says, and a river issues from Eden, and waters the garden, and divides and becomes 4 branches. And then it talks about these 4 rivers, and the land is good, and talks about these 4 rivers. And then verse 16, this is very, very interesting. It says, Vayadzu, Vayadsav, and God commanded, Vayadsav, from the word sav, to command. This is the first commandment ever given to humanity. We know what's the first commandment more than all the other commandments. It says, Vayadsav Adonai Elohim, al ha'adam lemor, saying, Mechol etz hagan achol tochal. You will eat of all the fruits of that. The first commandment given to us is to eat. is given to us is to eat, friends. That is why, if you're looking at a Seudah, and if you're talking about a meal or a festive meal or eating, is also a mitzvah scripturally. And we don't take this seriously. We are thriving on fast food, not respecting our food, just making anything and just say, not giving thanks to God, not saying prayers, no blessing this. It is a mitzvah to eat. That's why eating is such a big thing in the Jewish world. It's so important. Okay. Then, but he says, as for the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you must not eat of it, for as soon as you eat of it, you shall die. Now, I'll explain this to you when I'm doing the series tomorrow about the soul and what happens to the soul, what happened to Adam when this what happened. Okay. And then God says something fabulous. He says, Vayomer Adonai Elohem lo tov hayot ha'adam lavdo ea selo etzer benagdo. God said, it is not good for Adam to be alone. I'm going to produce asa, I'm going to make somebody to counteract him. This is what the Bible says, to counteract him. Gosh, if your husband and wives are fighting, this is what God intended it to be in any case. But not, I don't mean that literally, but constructively. Okay, it says, say lo, and produce to him, etzer, a helper, which is a constructive thing. Ke nagdo, neged in Hebrew means to stand opposite, to oppose, to counteract, but constructively. Why? What is this all about? This is not a negative thing. Please don't not take this negatively. It's not good for man to be alone, because now man will always struggle in foresight, in God's foresight. He says, once man gets mixed up with the good and the evil inside of him, because he is going to go down that path, he is going to eat of that tree, and he's going to be messed up, and for him to juggle these two aspects and have so much of power is going to be very difficult for him. Therefore, the intuition and the counter intuition must not be confusing to the human being at one point of time. Either a human being uses intuition or he uses counter intuition. You cannot do it both at one time. It's not possible. Therefore, God split the job, and he said, I'm going to make a helper to him, and I'm going to remove from him this process of intuition and counter intuition. I'm going to split it into two roles. So when the man says, this is what I'm going to do, the wife will say, but why? Don't you think this way is better? That's counter intuition. And that is constructive intuition and counter intuition constantly between husband and wife, or between two people. Constantly between two people. And make a counterpart for him, to stand opposite him and to give him constructive counter intuition so he performs his duty well. And then God formed out of the earth. See, this is where now this da'at thing comes through. This da'at, right? As long as Adam was pulling Chokmah, Bina, and Da'at from God, initially, this is what he done. This is what he done. And God formed out of the earth all the wild beasts and all the birds of the sky, and brought them to Adam to see what he would call them. And whatever Adam called each living creature, that would be its name. But one second, God is talking about making him a counteractive helper. What are the animals got to be doing out here? From where the animals come? Isn't it should be talking about Chava and Eve out here? Or something that God has in mind, not the animals. So why is the Bible talking about animals here? This is mind-boggling. I'll tell you what God is doing. He has already, within Adam, he has already formed and created Chava. But Adam does not know about it. That's why it says Nishmat Chaim. Nishmat Chaim. It's already formed. Adam doesn't know about it. And then he tells Adam, he says, I'm going to give you an helper. And he says, calls the horse, calls the donkey, calls the animal, calls the lion, calls the elephant, calls his. And Adam is at a level now where he's using Chokmah, Bina, and Dat, and everything that he's saying, because he's looking at the very essence of that animal, and what he speaks, the part of his speech is given that name according to the essence of that animal, and that's the name of that animal. Are you understanding the power of what's happening out here? Adam was tremendous. All of life and everything around him was given to him in a place of complete potential. But he lost it. So he could look at an animal that came before him and he would see the schematics, the way it's created, its life force, its this or whatever you want to call it, and its functionality in the place, its place in the order of creation, what was its role, what it's supposed to do, whether it's scrub of the earth, whether it's eats the herbage, whether it cleans the earth, whatever, because all life is symbiotic, right? Everything contributes to the environmental system of the earth. And Adam knew exactly what animal, what plant, what animal, what this, everything had its role, and he understood the science of all of that. And according to that, he gave its name. Because giving its name means he knew all what God had created. It was all a fabulous knowledge for him. This is very powerful, friends, extremely powerful. And how is this powerful? Because when he fell, all of this also fell with him. All of this fell with him. So God formed out of the earth all the wild beasts and all the birds of the sky and brought them to the human to see what he would call them. And whatever he would call each living creature, that would be his name. So the human being gave names to all the cattle and to the birds of the sky and to all the wild beasts. But no fitting counterpart for a human being was formed. Bizarre. What is the Bible telling us? God was telling Adam, you see all these things? Okay, these are all yours. Find a helper from there now. Go. Take the lion, try the giraffe, maybe the leopard. Have you tried the bear? No. What about the chicken? Maybe somebody could help you out. Somebody to help you out. Go ahead. Serpent? He was more cunning and crafty than all the creatures that God had created. The serpent, isn't it? He was there lurking around somewhere. But Adam, through the intuition, must have got frustrated and flustered and said, God, these don't resonate with me at all. I cannot find a single one of them to have any close relationship with me. These are animals and I'm a human being. I'm something different. I'm not an animal. When he came to that understanding that he's a human being, God says, now Adam, now you know that you are different. Go to sleep. Puts him to sleep. When he puts him to sleep, he extracts Chava out of him. So stand. He does this major surgery and he removes Chava. Stand. Brings him back. He says, get up. And then it says, so God cast a deep sleep upon the human being, and while he slept, he took out from his side and closed up the flesh at that side. And God fashioned the side that had been given from the human being into a woman, bringing her to the human being. And And then when Adam woke up from his day, he said, what happened to me, man? And then he seen Chava, the Eve were there. And immediately, what is his first reaction? He says, this is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. It means this is something that is mine, it's me, it's like me. I can relate to it. This is not an animal that stinks, giraffe, bear, dog. No. This is me. Therefore, now he realizes and he says, okay, this is part of me, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, because God, you took it out from me. Therefore, I will always cling to you as I will always cling. A man will always cling to a woman because of that. If God had to tell him, Adam, sit here, I'm going to make a helper for you. And he would have taken the mud and the ground and he would have made a woman and said, okay, this is a woman now, come on, help her. You think Adam would have been interested? He'd been like, hey, God's made something for me. Yeah, it's okay. No. When he realizes it's all part of him, now he brings the woman. That is why the man and the woman are the intuitive and the counterintuitive aspects that are inside every human being, and that role is separated. So when a man wants to go full steam, the woman puts the brakes. When the woman wants to go full ahead, the man puts the brakes, and vice versa, and they balance out each other and they do things. And this is very, very important because this is the checks and balances God put into humanity between the man and the woman, that they productively build and do the things in the Garden of Eden. So now the story takes its turn that they sin and they're thrown out of the Garden of Eden. And for 2000 years, humanity is roaming about without having access to the Garden of Eden. But here I want to put this point that says that God done all of this. And God made the place. And God made Garden of Eden. And God gave them this wonderful gift. And God gave them everything, even their breath was given by God. But when they messed up, God says, you want to meet with me? Now, you will make a place because I want to see how interested you are to actually meet with me. I gave it to you. You all messed it up. I'm not going to do anything now. Now you make a place for me and I will come. And that rings out even till today. Are we making a place? Vayasuli Mikdash Vishakhanti Betokham, God tells Moses, and let them produce a place for me so that I can come and live inside of them. If we are not in the business of preparing a place for God to be amongst us or inside of us, He is not going to come. Because He done it, we messed it up, now He is not going to do it. Now when He brings the children of Israel out from Egypt, He tells them, now let them make a place for me. And that tabernacle and everything that God had told Moses was a replica that God wanted in the Garden of Eden, but He said, no, you do it. So the foundation of all your theology is coming from here, friends. All this is coming from here. So it's returned back to Gan Eden all over again. That is why the new Jerusalem that comes down, where is the Messiah going to sit? He's going to sit on a throne in Israel, in Jerusalem. That's where everything happened. That's where it's going to be sorted out. That's where it was sorted out on the cross. That's where He's going to sit. That's where He's going to rule. So Malkut kingdom, now Kabbalistically, Malkut kingdom is many emanations, 10 emanations down from the top. And as we go on to the series, hopefully we'll be able to talk about these things. So in one way, what we done today was Pashat level, literal level. What is the Bible telling us in a very simple way? The Bible is telling us in a very simple way that God has this place called Gan Eden, which He wanted with His rules and His regulations. And He created Adam to look after that place on His behalf. He gave him His Torah there. This is what you will do. They messed up, you threw them out. And now, through Abraham, he's chosen a people, he's chosen a nation, he's built a nation, and he's given them all the blessings and things so that they would come into their inheritance. And now he's bringing them back, and he brought them back into the land during the time of Yahushua, messed it up again. And now they're back into exile, and they're out of this place, and they're out and all of it. But all the prophets said one thing: I will yet choose Israel. He is going to bring them back into that land. No matter what people say all over the world, whatever theologies they want to have in this world, it's unbiblical. Gan Eden is going to happen again, and God's chosen is going to come out there. And we from the nations, if we celebrate the God of Israel, if we worship Him, we remove idolatry and remove all the wicked ways in whichever country that we are in. I'm saying this again, whichever country that we are going to be in, if we remove all the wicked ways and we recognize the God of Israel, God is going to be happy with us. He does not expect anything more. But for the Jewish nation, He's got His rules and regulations. Friends, please make a note of this. We start the book of Genesis, we start today's Shabbat on understanding the complexities of what God was trying to do. Now, everything in the Bible will come into perspective as we go. Every weekend we're studying portions after portions after portions after portions till we come to the next cycle. But by then, hopefully, everyone would have been educated to understand what the Bible is actually saying. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share with you guys today on a very basic level. But please come tomorrow for Soul Dimension. It is going to be fabulous. We're going to talk far deeper things about the spiritual level of the human soul, its complexity, its fall, its elevation, its redemption, its rectification of all things. That's what we're going to talk about, friends. Okay, so I'm going to see you all tomorrow, and have a wonderful Shabbat, friends. God bless. I'm just putting the recording off, so we